Okay, welcome back. I hope you had a good coffee break, and yeah, I remember now we have solved. I hope so. A problem. It was a problem that we have the same frequency with the neighboring room. Hope that this would not happen again. Okay, so there was before starting with the second part of this session of this conference, we go now. There was a question, pending question, if I remember. Who was asking? There was, I think, it was a question to Dietmar, who was asking from the public.
C'est pour cette raison que Jésus nous demande de demeurer en lui, car sans lui, nous ne pouvons rien faire.
Melanie, sorry.
Étienne. Pourquoi il n'y a pas de...
Okay. Sorry, there was the people that was asking question to Dietmar eventually is not anymore interested to raise this question. So we can start from the second part of this meeting, and we have the first speaker. Unfortunately, there will not be. Let me add that Cristobal Girardi Lavin is not available. Unfortunately, is ill. So we have 4 speakers. And first speaker will be Marisol Núñez Martinez from Profonampe, Peru. Second, Everton de Oliveira, representing ISAS in Brazil. Anna Idol from the US Department of Energy. And then, last but not least, my colleague Antonella Vecchio, together with Maria Gabriela Andrisani, that will present the software rocks. So first speaker is Marisol, that will present a speech speaking about when arriving there is difficult, managing contaminated sites in remote areas of Amazonas. Marisol, floor is yours. You could try to share your screen. Marisol? Can you hear me, Marisol? Marisol?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good.
Okay.
At the end, yes. You have been promoted to co-host. That means that you could share your screen. If you could try to share your screen so we can see your presentation.
Okay. It's
Good. We can see the presentation. Put full screen.
okay.
Perfect. Go straight.
Okay.
Marisol. 15 minutes.
Okay.
And also some minutes more because we miss a speaker. So also 16 or 17. Let me remind that those who want to ask questions, they could do through the chat. Okay, so feel free to put into the chat any questions that you have. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Marisol, floor is yours.
Okay. Before starting, I'm going to mention Profonampe's participation in sites contaminated by hydrocarbons. Profonampe, we are a private environmental fund with almost 30 years of experience, and our purpose is to promote the sustainability of life by connecting humanity with the environment. What topics do we work on? Protected natural areas, forests, marine and coastal areas, water and remuneration mechanics by ecosystem service, and environmental passives, sustainable cities. Now I'm talking about the history of the management of cities impacted by hydrocarbons. For more than 50 years, hydrocarbons activity have impacted the basin of the Tigre, Pastaza, Corrientes, and Marañón rivers near Amazon. 2050, Law 3321 created a contingency fund for environment remediation in the 4 basins. For the first years, the fund was administered by the National Environmental Fund, FONAM. 2020, FONAMPE assumes the technical, administrative, and financial secretariat of the remediation fund. Fund governance, administrative boards. Administrative boards has 9 representatives. 5 representatives of a state and 4 community representatives. The community representative has federations. FEDICEP, FECONAP, FECONACO, ECODECOSP. A state representative, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Energy and Mines, Ministry of Housing, Construction and Sanitation, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture. Guest has 2 federations, FECONACOR and OPICAP. Administrative board has the technical, administrative, and financial secretary by PROFONAMPE, and technical groups also, environmental groups, communication groups, financial groups, and social groups. In this country, the remediation has processed. The first, identification of sites by OEFA. OEFA travel with Ministry of Environment. After, site prioritization by the Administrative Board. After, preparation of rehabilitation plans. PROFONAMPE hired the consultant company, and MINEM evaluate and approve the rehabilitation plans. After, preparation of detailed engineering files. PROFONAMPE hired the company, and MINEM evaluate and approve the detailed engineering file. After, the remediation. The remediation, PROFONAMPE hired the company, and OEFA post-remediation monitoring. Situation status. 30 rehabilitation plans present to MINEM in 2019 that correspond 32 impacted sites in the Corrientes, Pastaza, and Tigre basins. 19 rehabilitation plans approved. 30 correspond to the Corrientes basin. 2 rehabilitation plans in Tigre basin, and 4 rehabilitation plans to the Pastaza basins. More than 420 million soles transferred to contingent fund between 2050 and 2022 to remediate sites impacted by hydrocarbons in the 4 basins. In call for the first environment remediation process, site 111 Corrientes Basin, another 12 sites expect to be called in this year. Important information. The first remediation of the city 111. The technique, solidification remediation technique. The community native is Jose Olaya. The areas 0.1 hectare. Finally, it is important to mention some challenges of managing contaminated sites in the Amazon. Difficulty in accessibility on account of geographic location, access by air or inland waterways, elevated logistic costs. 70% of the budget is allocated to reaching the areas by native communities. Limited financing resource. The state is the only financing backer. Additional contributions are needed. International programs, NGOs, and other international entities do not participate and consider that Peruvian state should be responsible. Interconnectivity. Native community who speak different language and practice different customs. Diversity of stakeholders. Native community, the state, and consult. Sanction agency company must be exemplary, and native communities should accompany the tax undertaking and monitor their compliance. Conclusion, remediation is an urgent task and should disperse is a not too distant future. Companies should assume their responsibility. Thank you. Key point. Remediation is an urgent task. Significant operation science requires substantial resource and complex process.
Okay, Marisol, thank you very much for your presentation. We have a couple of curiosities, but this is for the question and answer that will be held at the end of this session. Now we stay ever in South America, and we just cross the Amazonas boundary, and we pass from Peru to Brazil, and it's now the turn of Everton de Oliveira. Everton, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you very well. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. We can hear you very well. Everton also here in Taranto, Italy. And I've seen also Tiago Gomez that is online. So you are well accompanied also by the coordinator of ISAS, and probably is looking at you. How do you behave? Just joking.
Yes.
Everton.
He's the boss.
Yeah?
He's the boss now.
He is the boss again. Yeah, we know. And yeah, now floor is yours. Try to share your screen, and we can
Yes.
see if check if everything is working.
Buongiorno, ringrazio gli organizzatori di questo bellissimo evento. Grazie mille. In English now.
Ok,
Thank you,
grazie
you.
mille, grazie a te e ti aspettiamo in Italia.
Sì, bene. Share the screen. Un momento. Okay. Sure. Okay, just a moment, please. Let me switch this. Okay,
Perfect,
so you see the
perfect. Go ahead, Everton.
All right, thank you very much to all of you. Thank you very much for this nice event. It's been very interesting. So many talks from around the world. And I'm going to talk a little bit about contaminated sites management strategies in Brazil. I'm actually a living witness of all the changes that we passed through in Brazil and also in some other countries. I've been happy to visit so many countries, and I have friends in many countries to tell me where to go and to tell the strategies that they are doing. And this initiative of yours is so welcome because we can compare how things are throughout the world. Thank you very much for your nice initiative. I'm Everton de Oliveira, and I have a company for 33 years here in Brazil, Hidroplan, as you see down there. And I have seen many things happening here in Brazil. Just for you to know, for example, when I started doing my master's here in Brazil, we didn't even have commercial chemical analysis for BTX. Maybe that's a similar situation in many places around the world. And today, those chemical analyses are cheaper here than they were when I started 30 and so years ago. So as we focus and we have more analysis and we work more, usually the market prices go down and we can evolve our situation. I'm just mentioning this because I had that feeling when the PFAS discussion came about, and we had this nice presentation from, I think it's Mitchell from Australia. It's very nice. So we understand that today PFAS is a scary thing to be analyzed and interpreted, but it's gonna get to the mainstream, and we're gonna get good results to remediate that site. So okay, back to the strategies in Brazil then. Let me just change the page here. Okay, it goes. Okay, here in Brazil, for you that are not really aware of how Brazil works, Brazil is a huge country, it's a continental country, and we have many differences in the states. Brazil is divided by states, politically and geographically by states. So we have more developed regions like in all countries have. And we are, the basis of the AESAS, our association, here is in São Paulo. São Paulo is the most developed state of Brazil, and it accounts for about half of the gross national product of, so it is well developed, and most of the rules, the environmental rules related to anything comes usually from Brazil, except when you're talking about Amazon and things like that are very specific of a given region. So when we talk about contaminated sites, São Paulo usually is ahead of other states and push legislations to other states as well. Okay, so in the 90s, we started. Just let me check the clock here so I don't talk too much. And please, Marco, tell me when to stop a minute before. That would be very nice. Thank you very much.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, thank you. So in the 90s, we started to get real traction. We had some important events in the world, like one that happened in Mexico. We have a Mexican representative here. That a huge, the whole street just exploded due to a leak, a gasoline leak from a gas station, and that drew attention to that. And then the contaminated sites in Brazil, mostly focused on gas stations, took off. That's when I was working on my master's. I was doing a gasoline station site assessment for my master's because we didn't have that before in Brazil. That was a pioneer work. And so we didn't have exactly a rule for that. And from that on, we started building that. And the state agency, São Paulo State Agency, did a very good job on organizing the market and organizing how we think on contaminated sites. So in the mid-90s to 2000, we had this huge boom because groundwater and contaminated sites were on the media. People were talking about, people were really concerned, and the science was growing. We had all the big development. I went to University of Waterloo. I studied with Jim Barker and was my supervisor, and John Cherry. All the big names were flocking around there to discuss. And the Brazil, as many other countries, were just following that direction because we didn't know, we were learning and we applying that. So Brazil was in a similar situation to many other countries. Then from 2000 on, we were pretty much up to date to the frontier technologies from all over the world. We bring technology from different countries like Europe and North America. In groundwater, we were technically connected mostly to the University of Waterloo, was the main research institution in that area. But we have many people, many other students in Brazil coming from their PhDs and teaching remediation sites and remediation, teaching contaminant hydrogeology to all. That was a big thing. And from that on, we were up to date with frontier technologies. International companies came in and we grew a huge market. So you understand how it works in Brazil. We have usually, like many other countries, we have the federal laws that put the rules for the state laws. And we have state level management regulations. Contaminated sites here in Brazil are mostly focused on state level legislation. The states have independence to decide as long as they follow the general federal laws. For you to know, the São Paulo state law, as well as Rio de Janeiro and some other more developed states, the legislation came before the federal law. The federal law for contaminated sites is much, much later than the laws for the states. So we usually follow when you don't have a law for some compounds, we tend to look for more developed countries to follow the example. Then we develop the laws. Our laws are very much up to date. We still don't have PFAS, but we are already discussing to get to that point. Even though for a specific compound, we might not have them included, we have general rules for compounds that are not listed by name. We can get around, like that's typical for other countries as well, based on their properties. We also have some municipal regulations in large cities. Large cities tend to have an environmental department that take care of contaminated sites as well. So it is organized in that way, but sometimes it's hard to talk because the municipality doesn't talk very well to the state, but usually it's been working under the state laws and is working very well. So for you to know how far we are, this is wrong here, sorry. ISS has more than 130. There's a typo there. It's not 103, it's 130 there. So we have an estimated total of more than 500 companies in Brazil, and that's a very low estimate because we admit that if we consider company as a single person company, we have more than 1,000 people, 1,000 companies. That's a lot of people working with contaminated sites, which gives a flavor of how developed our market is, okay? And our events are attended by 1,000+ persons. They are very well attended, which means that this is a strong market in Brazil. Well, that's what I say. Before I jump into this next slide, I just have to stress one thing. We have a huge and a strong market. Are we happy? No, we are not happy. And I can tell you that from the feeling that we have from many other countries. Since the beginning of the 90s, mid-90s, when we had that huge concern about contaminated sites, it seems that most authorities and people in general kind of got used to the idea of living with contamination. Just like we developed the solutions based on risk, you know, we learned to live with contamination. And in a way, we try somehow we sort of created some sort of contempt for contaminated sites, when I believe we should be more concerned and we should have more remediation all over the world. Why I say that? Because I'm working with a groundwater project and I have a sustainable water institute here in Brazil. Water is the main thing for us, is the most important thing that we should be aware of in the climate crisis. Climate crisis is a water crisis. And water quality is so important. And contaminated sites are an invisible source of contamination that we will have to live with. And it's going to be very expensive to live with contaminated water. So it's up to us here to get more traction again and to raise that concern to more people. So we need more remediation. We need more work on that area because we're gonna badly need that because countries are running out of water in general. We can see that in many places. So back again, regulations in Brazil are very much up to date to international regulations. And the São Paulo agency leads the way. We, differently from many other countries, from my experience, we focus on remediation, in situ remediation. In Brazil, usually we don't just dig and dump to a landfill site the contamination, right? The soil, the contaminated soil. It is expensive, it's not easy by the law to just dig and dump. So there are a lot of possibilities, and that's why the market is so well developed. We have this market based on in situ remediation, sometimes on site remediation, with much less dig and dump. Okay, so we have oxidation reduction, bioremediation, thermal remediation. Tiago, who's here, he's a great provider of thermal remediation here in Brazil. So he does a great job working with consulting companies like mine, right? And we have a minimum of landfill disposal. So that puts us in a position where companies are able to develop strategies, and then we do need management of contaminated sites from the government level to deal with all this many remediation that are going on in Brazil. We had the first wave of gas stations, like many other countries. Then we had a wave of industries much lower, and now the contaminated sites that are being reused for a different land purpose are mostly doing the remediation for us. So we have more to come, as Brazil has 12% of the world's fresh water. Mostly is groundwater here. So we do have lots of work to be done here, because we need water. Companies that are water dependent are coming to Brazil, and also to countries that have this water availability. And we do need protection and remediation, because those items must be priority always. We should pass, although we are well developed in the knowledge in applying science in Brazil. We need more remediation, and I also advocate for more remediation throughout the world. Climate crisis is a water crisis, and the Brazil contaminated sites market will grow to catch up with these new demands. Okay. Okay, that's all I have to say. I guess my time is up here. So please, just let me make a pitch here. Help the environment by making groundwater visible. Visit and support the groundwater project. The AESA's association already does that. So visit the groundwater project, download our books, they're all free, and they'll help pushing groundwater and making our market a more important thing on the minds of politicians and the general public. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure talking to you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Everton. Very interesting presentation. And before leaving the floor to Valeria, that will present the next speaker, taking the opportunity that also Tiago is online, we are going to organize another training of ISAS in RemTech Europe in September. And we have still to decide the two topics, and let's say we have a collaboration since 2020, and we continue together to promote environmental sustainability and a sustainable way to deal with management of contaminated sites. Now, Everton, I hope you can stay, because we have question and answer at the end. Bravo, as we say.
Thank you very much.
And now I pass the floor to Valeria to introduce the next speaker. Valeria?
Yes, thank you, Marco. Now we move from the south to the north of America, and I introduce the next speaker, Hannah Heidel, from Department of Energy of United States, and she presents a speech entitled Management of Per and Polyfluoroalkylic Substances at the United States Department of Energy. Hannah, are you online?
Thank you very much. I will share my screen. Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, perfect. You can go.
Great. Okay, I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Get this up. Great. Okay. So as they said, my name is Hannah Heidel. I'm a physical scientist with the Department of Energy's Office of Subsurface Closure, working for the Office of Environmental Management. So I will be giving a presentation on per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. This is a class of contaminants of emerging concern. So PFAS were first produced on an industrial scale for use in uranium separation activities during the Manhattan Project. In 1938, Teflon, which is a commercial name for PTFE, was discovered by scientists in the US. It was used for the development of the atomic bomb, which involved enrichment of uranium-235 using gaseous uranium F6, which was highly corrosive. Teflon and other PFAS were found to be highly resistant to corrosion, and they were first used for classified industrial use of PFAS, and then they were declassified after the war, and widespread commercial use began in 1949. So there are a number of environmental and health impacts for PFAS. In the environment, they do not break down easily. They accumulate over time, and they are highly mobile in groundwater. They can also be released into the air as vapors or fine particles, and they bioaccumulate in fish and other wildlife. In terms of human health impacts, recent studies estimate that over 98% of the United States population has PFAS in their blood. This can lead to a number of health impacts, including increased cholesterol levels, changes in liver enzymes, small decreases in infant birth weights, decreased vaccine responses in children, increased risk of high blood pressure or preeclampsia in pregnant women, and an increased risk of kidney or testicular cancer. So they have a large impact both toxicologically and in human health. So the Department of Energy's PFAS mission statement is to protect human health and the environment by assessing and addressing PFAS at DOE sites while deploying the department's scientific expertise to solve PFAS challenges. We are committed to coordinating with other agencies and working groups, staying informed on activities, updates, and challenges related to PFAS contamination and regulation, and continuing investigations and finding solutions for PFAS contamination at DOE sites. So this is a timeline of Department of Energy actions since September of 2021. In September of 2021, the Deputy Secretary, David Turk, issued a PFAS policy memorandum on September 16th, 2021. It was named Addressing Per and Polyfluoroalkyl Substances at the Department of Energy. The memo established the department's initial framework for addressing PFAS. This placed a hold on disposal and emphasized storage while allowing for a process of approval consistent with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's own 2020 guidance. This memo discontinued the use of AFFF, except in emergencies, and required reporting of any PFAS release or spill at DOE HQ. It also established a PFAS coordinating committee to guide implementation of the memo's requirements. The PCC published the DOE PFAS roadmap here in August of 2022, and subsequent deliverables following this timeline. So these are the DOE PFAS roadmap pillars: to understand, manage, and protect advanced solutions, and communicate and collaborate with our stakeholders. DOE commits to research current and past uses and known or potential releases of PFAS, investigate PFAS concentrations in DOE supplied drinking water and in the environment at DOE sites, proactively prevent PFAS from entering air, land, and water at levels that can adversely impact human health and the environment, clean up PFAS identified contamination to protect human health and ecological systems, leverage the expertise at DOE national laboratories to enhance PFAS research, support interagency and cross-sector collaboration to identify and employ promising technologies, and finally, provide clear and credible information to our employees, local communities, and regulators while engaging with stakeholders to help inform an effective departmental PFAS strategy. So this is our sampling and analysis PFAS plan at DOE sites. We take into account the regulatory landscape, investigating PFAS actions, sampling, and analysis. So recently we did publish the following deliverables under the PCC. This is the historic use, investigation, and environmental sampling guidance. The historical use guidance is derived from the roadmap goal to develop information concerning PFAS uses and environmental releases. It outlines a framework for investigating historical and current use of PFAS at DOE entities nationwide. It seeks to identify the most common sources of PFAS at DOE sites, and it recommends a process for performing PFAS historical and current use investigation. It also encourages early and meaningful collaborations with site regulatory partners. The environmental sampling guidance was derived from the roadmap goal, publish environmental sampling guidance to support determining the nature and extent of PFAS release at DOE sites. It outlines a framework for sampling and analysis of PFAS at DOE-owned or operated entities nationwide. It supports determining the nature and extent of PFAS releases and contamination at DOE sites, following the data quality objective process to ensure consistency and robustness in site assessments. And finally, it recommends the best practice for establishing data quality objectives, selecting appropriate sampling and analysis methods, addressing investigation-derived waste, implementing quality assurance and quality control measures, and incorporating sustainability considerations into site assessments. Finally, we have our draft DOE PFAS storage and disposal guidance. This is currently in development and is expected to be finalized later this year. It will be consistent with the Environmental Protection Agency's 2024 interim guidance for destruction and disposal of PFAS, which was finalized last month. It will provide guidance on the DOE's own site storage and disposal of materials containing PFAS, whether generated through routine operational processes or from recovery, emergency use, discharges, or spills of PFAS-containing materials. It will also establish a process for requesting approval for disposal of PFAS from our heads of departmental element. What is important to note for the DOE is we have our own special equity is that PFAS is often mixed with low-level radioactive waste from Manhattan-era processes. So it's important to have our own specific guidance in this way. Interagency engagement and national laboratory coordination. We are constantly engaging with other agencies and our own national labs in order to solve PFAS-related challenges. Our labs include the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, PNNL, Savannah River National Laboratory, SRNL, Sandia National Laboratory, SNL, and Argonne National Lab, ANL. These labs have made enormous steps in both site characterization of PFAS, AI and machine learning technology to characterize PFAS plumes on sites, and many other really exciting projects. We also coordinate with the U.S. Interstate Technology and Regulatory Council and the Federal Remediation Technologies Roundtable to solve PFAS-related issues nationwide. So that is the end of my presentation. More information and those documents that I mentioned can be found on the DOE PFAS website, and you can scan that code there. If you have any questions, you can always contact the DOE or any feedback at pfasinfo@hq.doe.gov. And of course, you can contact me, Hannah Heidel, at the email below. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hannah, for your interesting presentation. Now we pass to Italy, and I invite Antonella Vecchio from ISPRA to present a contribute entitled Software Rocks for Determining the Priorities for the Remediation of Orphan Sites. Antonella, are you online? Yes, okay, I see you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
If you're ready, you can share.
I try to share my screen. Okay. Okay, I will start, but I'm waiting for my colleague Maria Gabriella Andrisani from ISPRA that will show some also some of the slides that we prepared. Good afternoon, everybody. Our presentation is on this new software for determining the priorities for potentially contaminated sites, but the focus of this presentation is on orphan site. Gabriella, please come. No, I'm ready for give you the floor for the presentation, for the first part of the presentation.
I'm sorry. Oh. Okay. Good afternoon. And I introduce you the first part of the presentation, and then Antonella will focus on the software rocks. Okay. Okay. According to European indication, polluter pay principles is applied at national and regional level, also in Italy, on remediation activities, and the polluter, who is the person responsible for the contamination, must bear the costs of the measures to clean up this pollution. In the Italian legislation, the polluter pay principles is implemented essentially by Part 4 remediation procedure on the Environmental Code, Legislative Code 152 of 3 April 2006. So, if no polluter is identified or is found to be unsolvent or no longer existing, which are the conditions that create orphan sites, public authorities carry out the remediation ex officio according to an order of priority of intervention established by regional remediation plans. But what are regional remediation plans? These plans must identify the sites to be remediated and their characteristics. They are contaminated sites, which are the sites presenting unacceptable risks to human health and environment after a site-specific risk assessment due to contamination found in soil and or in groundwater, in media, in environmental media. But potentially contaminated sites are also included in the regional remediation plans. These sites present screening values exceeding in environmental matrices media after a preliminary investigation if a contamination event has occurred. So, orphan sites can be classified both as potentially contaminated sites and contaminated sites. Potentially contaminated sites if after the contamination event and the preliminary investigation, the polluter is not identified, and as contaminated sites if the remediation procedures initiated and the measure initially taken are interrupted and not concluded by polluter. As already told you, regarding the orphan sites, public authorities carry out the remediation ex officio according to an order of priority indicated by regional remediation plans. So these plans must provide an order of priority of intervention based on risk assessment criteria defined by ISPRA as required by law. The purpose on the relative risk assessment is to assign priority with risk ranking index to sites in a process of comparison with other sites. It is not a site-specific assessment, but is a simplified qualitative procedure for the evaluation of the hazard risk associated with contamination of a site in a process of comparison with other sites. In this figure, we can see the application on the relative risk assessment procedure in regional, in local context to obtain a priority list of all sites included in the plan, in the regional remediation plan, based on the available information. Let's now the activities of ISPRA on national privatization criteria. The first identification at national level of the priority criteria was developed in phase 1 of the activities carried out with the support on the regions and the regional agencies for environmental protection, who were part of the first technical table. In 2022, ISPRA released the first proposal for priority criteria, both potentially contaminated sites and contaminated sites, phase 1. In phase 2, still in progress, the priority criteria to be applied to potentially contaminated sites have been tested at a local level in the region that have agreed to support ISPRA in this activity, who have part of the second technical table, with the addition of the hotel public administration. Now, in fact, the table is composed of 15 regions and 15 regional agencies. In order to apply this priority criteria, ISPRA has developed the software works, testing and the use. This is the first ISPRA report published in 2022, which described all activities of phase 1, the phase proposal for priority criteria, both potentially contaminated sites and contaminated sites. And this slide, this is the second report ISPRA report, published in 2023, that described the first part of the activities carried out in phase 2. In particular, the updated version of the criteria and the relative works application software I described. Both reports and the software works can be downloaded in the following link. This link connects to the ISPRA web page. These tools are now testing to verify the applicability of such criteria in different regional contexts. This is the working group. That testing the criteria composed of ISPRA as coordinator and regions with regional agencies for environmental protection. 8 public administration participate in the working group, including the new entry, including the delegate for the commissioner structure for the 2025 Jubilee of the Catholic Church. In fact, this structure must indicate the intervention priority of the sites included in the municipality of Rome. In the second table, there are a total of 15 regions, 50 territorial areas, including the Apulia region, and 31 public authorities. So, as part of phase 2 of the project, we completed 3 steps. The step 1 with the first definition of the scoring system, the scores and the weights for ranking potentially contaminated sites. The step 2 for the with the software development for the application of the procedure, works, testing and the use, and the step 3 with the review 3 of priority criteria and update software works. Now the working group is completing the criteria testing phase, assessment scores and weight for the required parameters. At this phase, which should end in September 2024. Okay, I finished my part of presentation. I leave for to colleague Antonella. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria Gabriella.
Thank you, Gabriella. So let's move to the software. the software has a data entry step with masks for uploading parameters to be scored in the scoring system. The software has a repository, so a database including all the available information. The software allows some kind of flexibility to adapt the procedure to the regional context, so some scores and weights can be defined at the regional level and not at the national level. We are now working on the final data analysis and also to the automatic production of reports and statistics. But why we make this software? Because we would like to allow an immediate application of the procedure at national and regional level. So there is a parallel work on the relative risk assessment methodology and the software development to release after at the end of the project the methodology and in the application software. We made we plan to make 3 software versions. The demo version is the current version that we have for the testing of the procedure. Now the demo version available is 1.2.1. The base version that will be released at the conclusion of the testing phase together with the definitive criteria. And then an advanced can be produced by HISPRA on taking into account specific territorial situation or specific needs from the regions. The last demo version published is the 1.2.1 on December 2023 and is available on HISPRA webpage. At the end of my presentation, I will show you the relevant page, webpage, when you can find all this documentation. So the software creates a database where are archived all the information on the uploaded sites. When the site is uploaded correctly, a relative risk ranking index is automatically calculated. If not all the parameters are uploaded, or if there are inconsistencies to be solved, some errors to be solved, all the information uploaded are saved, but the score is not calculated, and the site is saved with a 0 score. The software allow in this, it's in Italian, so we are not providing by now an English version. So we have this icon with the regional criteria for classification. And this classification, regional classification, refer to a specific section of administrative parameters. Clicking on the Add New Sites, a mask is opened with many sections. The first section, section 1, is the site identification section with many information on the site, but no score assigned. So it is allowed the input of identification parameters and also relevant administrative and site characteristics information that are not scored in the ranking system. Then there is the administrative parameters section, the section 2, that has some parameters whose score and weights are assigned at regional level. And then there are 5 technical parameter sections divided in 5 sheets, and in these sections the score and weights of the parameters are defined at national level, so are common to all the regions. What are the information of orphan sites? So this presentation is focused on orphan sites. In the administrative section, there is a specific category for orphan sites, and the score given to the financing situation of the orphan sites are defined at regional level, so can be adapted to specific regional context depending on the administrative, socioeconomic, and specific territory needs for the management of orphan sites. For other parameters, so technical parameters, in the data entry phase, the software highlights problems or error or inconsistencies, allowing a correct input of all the information required by the system. So we have the red errors, so blocking problems that do not allow to upload the site. In other cases, when there are inconsistencies, technical inconsistencies of the information, the site is saved, but again with 0 score. These are the triangle, yellow triangle. When you find the yellow circle, there are missing data, so information not entered. And anyway, in this case, the score is not calculated. In the last version, we gave also inside the software sheets with instruction for compiling correctly the requested information. So clicking on the question mark, these compilation instructions appear and are provided for the section 2 to 5, so administrative section and from 2 to 7, so administrative section and the 5 technical parameters sections. Another important information that we added in the last version of the software was information on contaminants. This information on contaminants found or that we may have found in soil and groundwater for potentially contaminated sites can be useful, for example, for sites classification. If a region would like to rank only sites with specific contaminants, this information could be useful for making a sub-ranking of sites depending, for example, on the type and origin of contamination. But this information is not scored, so contaminants do not have a weight and a score. We also provided guided export and import from Excel also in the demo version. And again, when you import the file in Excel, there is a form for importing the data in Excel. Again, the software evaluates blocking errors, inconsistencies, and missing information to allow a correct upload of the data. Other internal interchange modes, so other kind of interchange files will be implemented in the base version, and we are working now on that. The results can be viewed according, so sites are listed according to the risk ranking system. By now, it is possible to filter the sites based on the fields of the data entry mask. For example, you can filter the sites according to the polluting activity, or according to the contaminants, or according to if they are orphan site financed or not financed, and so on. We are now working on the data analysis and automatic production of graphs and reports of all these sites that are uploaded in the software. For the time being, the software procedure is applied for ranking potentially contaminated sites. So sites that has not already carried out or finished the site-specific risk assessment procedure. So there is a suspect, a concrete suspect of contamination, but the contamination is not already confirmed, because in Italy, contamination is related to an acceptable risk, evaluated site-specifically. The software will work on premise. This implies that the software can work in a region domain, so many inputs can be given, but with the connection by remote desktop protocol, and no external input is allowed by now. in what we have done, Gabriella has described before, we have the updated version of the priority criteria, so scoring system, weights and parameters and so on in the ISPRA report 392 of 2023. We have the updated and published version of the ROC software, the demo version 1.2.1. I will give a brief insight in the relationship between priority criteria and what is now raising up from the new proposal of soil monitoring and resilience directive. If you look at the text of the commission that has been published in July 2023, the directive give indication for priority setting of soil investigation and also priority setting for intervention according to a risk-based procedure. So risk-based approach seems to have a role for priority setting in soil investigation for potentially contaminated sites and for intervention in contaminated sites. The revisions that are circulating made by the European Parliament and the European Council have given more emphasis to the priority criteria, both for soil investigation and for the remedial actions. The final step, by the end of 2024, we will finish this part of the work, so we will have the definitive criteria, the base version of the software, and we're working also on the WebGIS instruments for helping in evaluating spatial parameters, so also an integration in a spatial assessment for the priority criteria. All the provided instruments and criteria that we are developing, in our view, can be easily adapted and updated for the once the if it will have it will be approved when the directive will be ready to be adopted at national level. Looking at the future, now we have different databases in different regions, a software that works in each region and maybe differently for some kind of parameters. But we have a long-term view in which the database can be shared in a cloud system, for example, allowing also inputs for external references. For example, the polluter that are carrying out an investigation or must carry out an investigation on a remediation project can input data for priority criteria, or for example, looking at the directive, if we have a subject that holds a potentially polluting activity, can give the information and then allow the prioritization of the sites. But some little things are already in common, so some information is now in cloud, is simple information, but we hope that everything will be shared in a long-term way. We think that the proposal of that directive will help also us in making this integration. Last slide. This is the ISPRA webpage in which all the things that we have shown are present. So if you would like to download the report and the software, the report and the software are already in Italian, but we are in a testing phase. Then we plan to translate or summarize something in English. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Maria Gabriella and Antonella. Very interesting presentation. Software Rocks is a product of ISPRA, and it's very important for determining the priorities, at least in orphan sites, as you mentioned in the characterization and also on the remediation. Thank you. Now we have the 20 minutes of question and answer. We have prepared some questions, also from the room. If there are any questions, they are welcomed. Anyway, stay online, because after the first round of questions, we have a couple of announcements from Patricia Ruiz of ISAS and Laurent Tamberger from Ernest regarding the trainings that will be organized in RemTech Europe in September. So let's start with the first round of questions. And first questions, I will leave the floor to Valeria. Valeria, please.
Thank you, Marco. The first question is for Marisol from Amazonia. And we want to ask you what remediation technologies do you apply in your land, because it's a difficult land. So to reach polluted sites, we think that it's not very simple. So if you want to describe what remediation technologies you have applied. Marisol?
Marisol is not online anymore, so we can pass to the second question. Is for Everton. Everton, if you can hear me, my question would be, you make a picture of remediation technologies in Brazil. I want to hear a bit more about the characterization. What is the state of application of high resolution site characterizations, for instance? I know some companies apply it before going to the remediation phase.
Marco, this is Thiago speaking. Everton asked me to answer the question, wasn't able to stay here.
Welcome, Thiago, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see you again. High resolution is pretty common in Brazil right now. There are many companies here that does it. I would say that, pretty much all the technologies that has been used in the US for the last 5-10 years, they are available in Brazil. It's pretty common to do high resolution before any remediation take place.
Okay, thank you, Thiago, and I leave the floor to Valeria for a question to Anna.
Anna, are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. We have understand that United States promoted guidelines and on the PFAS and relevant document. We are interested to know if PFAS remediation case studies are ongoing, or have you worked in the Department of Energy?
You said PFAS remediation studies?
Yes.
Yes, so there's a number of studies going on for the most effective PFAS remediation. The United States Environmental Protection Agency actually just finalized their version 2 PFAS destruction and disposal guidance. They have a hierarchy of remediation recommended as the most effective. So their most protective recommended is deep well injection, class 1 deep well injection. The second most protective is disposal in RCRA subtitled C PFAS, RCRA subtitled C landfills, which are lined and protective for leachate runoff. DOE is currently internally conducting remediation studies for the best technologies within our own scope. So this includes soil sampling and then the best ways to implement soil remediation, either in situ or ex situ through pump and treat wells. So we have a lot of research ongoing in that field.
Okay, thank you.
Now is the turn of my colleague Antonella, and we are colleagues. It seems strange that I would ask a question to my colleagues, but Antonella and Maria Gabriela, we are in an international context framework. So my question would be, you mentioned also that the software is available just in Italian. Do you think to prepare a version that is available in English in future? Because you know we have all 6 continents now, and that this software could be really useful for who does not have, let's say, prioritized its own sites. So, what do you think? It is feasible in 1 year, a couple of years?
All things could be feasible, but it's a matter of financing instruments, because all these things are made on our own funds. So we hope that the new provisions of the European legislation will push also Italian stakeholders in funding these activities. But we think that if the European Commission will move to the priority criteria for guidelines for priority criteria for ranking potentially contaminated sites and contaminated sites, it's essential to have an English version of the criteria and of the software. So we will try to make it, and generally we succeed in making software translation. So we are planning to do that. I don't know what will be the time needed and the effort needed for this translation, but we are planning to do that.
Thank you very much, Antonella, for your answer. We have a second round of questions for each of you, from Thiago, Anna, and Antonella, and Maria Gabriella. But before going to the second round, we have some announcement. The announcement is that I would remind the dates of RemTech Europe. RemTech Europe will take place from 16 to 20 of September 2024. First 2 days are just online, 16 and 17, while 18, 19 and 20 are hybrid, so in presence, but also you can follow from your home, just an internet connection, and a valid email for registration is needed. Among those 5 days, we have a number of trainings, and we are lucky that online we have two of the organizers of the training, specifically Patricia Ruiz, that is representing ISAS. We have also Thiago, that is the president, the chair of ISAS, that will announce which will be the training from ISAS, and then I will leave also the floor to Laurent Tamberger, representing Ernest, and the training that will be held also in RemTech Europe. First, Patricia, you could open your microphone and announce which kind of training you are organizing in RemTech Europe.
Yes, sure. Buongiorno a tutti. Buongiorno. It will be a brief announcement, and I would like to announce that in this edition, ISAS will provide 2 courses, one on vapor intrusion and one on bioremediation, the techniques that we use here in Brazil. So it's a pleasure to us being in this edition, and thank you so much for you all.
Very well, Patricia, thank you. Thanks also to Thiago and also to all the experts from ISAS to give their expertise to a broad public for free. Let's remember that RemTech Europe is completely free. You have just to register yourself and not to pay any fee. So also from the remote areas, no, you don't have to pay even $1. Okay, so also from let's say developing countries, everybody could follow a high-level conference. Now I leave the floor to Laurent. Laurent is representing Ernest. Laurent, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Could you introduce what we have in mind for RemTech Europe? It's the first time that we have a training with Ernest. Please.
Yes, thank you, Marco. Ernest is a scientific network in France for the question of soils, unpolluted soils, more larger. And after the request of Marco, we want to organize a special session for French-speaking countries, people that could be not very confident with English-speaking, participate to the Congress long abroad from their countries. We will have this session in remote mode, maybe on Tuesday morning, as I remember. Regarding the way they have to apply and implement regulation about remediation in their countries, their needs. A lot of people are working on this subject in different universities, but every organizer of Congress knows that people are proposing sometimes very interesting subject, but fail to come because of question of visa and so on. And this is a good opportunity to help them to participate in a high value scientific committee congress during this RemTech 2024. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you, Laurent. Very good. I posted into the chat the website of RemTech Europe. Is the call for abstract is still open till 30 of June, so feel free to download the template for the call for abstract, and let's say you have still around 40 days to submit your abstract. Now we go to the second round of question. I will start with Thiago, and the question is linked also to the presentation of Marisol and what happens in the Amazonas, and what if you have managed, Thiago, with your company Doxor, or also with the companies that you have in ISAS, any sites in the Amazonas, and which are the techniques that you applied? We know that it's difficult to arrive just where boat could arrive. So not all the remediation technologies could be applied. Could you make us, let's say, in 1 minute, 2 minutes, let's say, a description of which technologies could be applied, or have you applied directly in sites in the Amazonas?
Sure, Marco. They are part of that. Amazon is a little bit different from here in Brazil. I would say the access to those sites here in Brazil are kind of easier. Working at those sites in Peru, I mean, I've worked in one site in Ecuador and a couple of sites here in Brazil. And of course, the most challenging thing is to reach the site. Sometimes most of the equipment have to be, taken by boats in the rivers or by helicopters. So it's, you're kind of limited on what kind of remediation technology you can use. And also we are limited on energy also. It's hard to have, like, if you want to do like a thermal remediation on those sites, it would be quite hard to get enough power from the electrical grid to run those sites. So mostly what is done so far, it's dig, excavate, and do like biopiles or some sort of bioremediation. There are quite a few sites that we did some pump and treat.
Sorry,
with
Thiago,
pneumatic pumps.
Biopiles need also some energy, no? For instance, let's say pumping air or water.
Yeah, for the blowers. Yeah, but it's way less energy than compared to like a thermal site. If we think about an energy for a thermal site, we are talking about 1,000 kilowatt hours, also 1,000 kilowatt per hour, and for a pumping site, it's like 10 or 5 kilowatts. So it's quite easier to do those other technologies. So if we need just have energy for a small blower to do a vapor extraction on a pile, or to run a compressor for pneumatic pumps, it's way easier. So that's pretty much the what is driven the remediation on those areas. You know, it's pretty much how hard it is to get with equipment on those sites and the structure on the site for energy that it's, you know, not awfully not very available.
I'd like to add something if you
please,
allow
Everton,
me.
please.
Sorry, I had to leave for a while. I have some experience as well working in the Amazon region. And for those who are not familiar with the Amazon region in Brazil, we have big cities and we have industries like in Manaus, the capital of the Amazon state. And the Amazon is a huge area, so around there we have many big cities in some areas where the industries are close to the forest. And in those areas we do have capabilities that we can do remediation, but of course not lots of industries are there. When we have industry, it's because you have development and then we have capabilities to do remediation, right? It depends on how is organized the state level, agency to require a remediation. That's the main point. But we usually reach some of contaminations that we talk that you may have heard in the Amazon are more, like we say, diffuse. Like for example, the guys that used lead or some other material in mining, the garimpo, as we call, when they do, they dig by hand and they use mercury to separate the gold, for example, so that goes into the water, but it's mostly surface water, and that's very hard to address. We're not talking about contaminated sites like that. But usually, and another thing that is quite interesting for you to know that I'd like to add here as an interesting topic, as for example, in Manaus, the main, the capital there, the Amazon River, it varies 12 meters in a year. That's a regular variation of water level. That's a lot. It's very impressive. And if you go there, you would be impressed by this. So sometimes you have to work. I had the opportunity to work on an oil spill there. Then you have to wait for the right time of the year when the water is lower and you can access and you can work fast, and then you can go back, because 12 meters is a lot of pressure, on the contamination and everything. So it's almost impossible to do. So that's very interesting. So you have to get adjusted to the situation there. It's quite nice, and not lots of contaminations in their area. So I hope you could visit the Amazon and you'll love it. It's very nice. I've been there so many times.
Thank you, Everton. I wish to visit Amazonas, sure. One thing I didn't catch, how was the difference between the highest level and the lowest level of the Amazonas River?
12 meters.
12 meters. 12 meters. Wow, that's a lot. To be honest.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So you go there. If you go there in a, it's funny because when you go there in a high waters, all the locals are talking about the river and the lagoon, and you see nothing because you see an ocean of water, but they're referring to the low, the low waters when they see the river and they see the lagoon. So they mention, no, I remember they call this is the Crocodile Lagoon. What the crocodile? Where is this lagoon? So you go there 6 months later, and then you see the lagoon, and then you see the crocodiles there as well. That's why
a bit
it's
dangerous.
Funny.
More dangerous crocodiles than contamination, maybe. Anyway, you know that if we talk about 12 meters, Amazonas is let's say wide like 10 kilometers from one side to another. So we're speaking of a mountain of water, no? It's
yes, exactly. Yes, yeah, true. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Everton. And last question for Antonella. I leave the floor to Valeria for asking this question.
Okay.
I have to leave. Bye, guys. Sorry.
Bye,
bye, Everton. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for Antonella Gambriella, how do you suggest analyzing sites with large and sites with scarce data? Really, should be the risk classification assessment influenced by this difference?
We didn't went into details on the different procedures, but we are trying to evaluate data more or less homogeneous in terms of data variability. So the first proposal of priority criteria make a difference between potentially contaminated sites that have not so many data, contaminated sites that have many data because they were subjected to a site-specific risk assessment. But we were also requested to apply priority criteria in the sites with the suspect of contamination. So with the no chemical analysis of soil or groundwater available. So we plan to adapt the procedure to sites with different informativity, so different level of information available, to compare more or less the same things. Parameters are different, obviously, more detailed or less detailed, and also maybe scoring system will be assessed differently. And this could be future future projects, especially if the soil monitoring directive will go into the direction of guidelines on risk-based prioritization of polluting activity sites, potentially contaminated sites, and contaminated sites.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Antonella. We are at the closure of this conference. Just let me thank all the speakers that were in the first part and the second part for being present and illustrating their know-how in this field. So thank you very much to all of you. Just let me remind again the dates of RemTech Europe. It will be from 16 to 20 of September. Hope to meet you in Ferrara this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you all for
Ferrara.
invitation. See you in Ferrara. Bye, bye. Bye, all.
Bye, Marcus. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.